Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is Manchester United's biggest issue at the moment. For me, I think Manchester United's biggest issue is that there are so many, but fundamentally, I think that our biggest issue really is that we can't see the solution. We don't know what our best 11 is. We're 14th in the league. And yes, if you sack Erik ten Hag, you get a new person coming in with new ideas. But what is that vision? What is that idea? I look at this season and I think the biggest problem I've got against Brentford next week is how are we lining up in that game? What is our best 11 and how are we going to find any sort of rhythm? Manchester United, consistency is clearly one of the biggest issues, but how are you ever going to find consistency when we don't know what that consistency or vision is? I don't think Ten Hag knows what it is, even though he's in year 3. I don't think the next manager's going to know what it is because I don't know when necessarily whether there's a pathway to consistency when you can't find a vision to be consistent. When I look at Arsenal or Man City or Liverpool, I pretty much know their best 11, 12 players. With Manchester United, I don't really know. Is Rashford playing on the left or is it Garnacho? Is Garnacho playing on the right or is it Ahmad? Is Bruno the solution at number 10? Are we sticking with Rasmus up front or is Xerxes meant to be that guy? What the hell is the holding midfield too? Is it Mainu and Eriksen? Is it Casemiro and Agate? Is it Agate and Mainu, which is the fan choice? We don't have a left back. Even if everybody's fit, we don't have a left back. At right back, is it Delo or Mazraoui? What's your centre back pairing? There is so many questions. And we need to find the solutions to those because it's a massive, massive problem. And with massive games to come, starting with Brentford next week, no matter who is in charge, where is the consistency and vision? But look, I've asked this question on Twitter. I'm asking the question to you tonight. What is Manchester United's biggest issue? Because a lot of people want to say the biggest issue is the manager. I completely disagree. I don't care if you sack the manager or not. I still think you're going to get stuck with the same problem. How are you going to find the consistency? What's our best 11? And we're in 14th place in the Premier League right here, right now. How are you going to turn that around quickly when you're competing with teams like Spurs, like Newcastle, like Aston Villa, like Chelsea, that pretty much have their vision sorted out for the season, and we don't have ours yet. We've got no partnership, says Keel. Evening, Mark. Aggregator accounts saying Q8 want to buy United next year. Don't see it personally. Ineos have only just got here. Absolutely no chance, Scott. Bullshit news. Maybe we'll talk about it on the news show tomorrow morning, but yeah, I can't see it. And Q8 over Qatar, they tried that, didn't work. Bruno's doing great for Portugal right now, says Mo Salah. Could not give a shit. Could not give a shit. And what do you want me to do with that? So it's Ten Hag's fault, it's Man United's fault that Bruno Fernandes can't string a pass together for Man United, but he can do it for Portugal. Oh, what's he going to say? I'm playing with better players. I'm playing with better players with less pressure. Well, piss off and play for fucking Stoke then. Manchester United. If you can't deliver in a Man United shirt because you're not playing with better players, fuck off. It's as simple as that. And I like Bruno, but I couldn't give a toss about what you're doing for Portugal. I couldn't give a toss what Luke Shaw's doing playing in a Euros final. He's not fit for Man United, is he? Why is it one rule for one and one rule for another? I'm bored of this. Oh, Scott McTominay scored a goal for Scotland. Oh, and then he's playing shit for Man United. Who gives a shit about international football? I don't. I only knew about it because you told me. We need to wait for Malacia for the left-back position, says Armin. Oh, night, I'm off. See you later. You try your best. And then you get an absolute pillock coming in with shit like that. We need to wait for Malacia for the left-back. Oh, yeah. Because he was the solution before he did an 18-month knee injury, wasn't he? Malacia was... I mean, to be honest with you, at times before Malacia got injured, I actually thought I was watching prime Roberto Carlos. I genuinely thought we won't have a problem at left-back for the rest of our lives. This guy is unbelievable. The positional sense, the tackling, the going forward. Yeah, absolutely. This fan base, says Madison, exactly. Anyway, it's going to be an interesting show. Get your problems in. What do you think the biggest issues at Man United are? We've got a lot to get into on the show tonight. But before we get into that, the show is sponsored by Manscaped. You can get an exclusive 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code TUS20. The link's in the description, or you can scan the QR code next to me. They've got the fantastic Beard and Balls bundle at the moment. Beard and Balls, eh? The ultimate grooming package featuring the Lawnmower 5.0, which is this, and the Beard Hedger, which is this. Don't mix them up. That's for your face and that's for your midriff. Absolutely fantastic products. This is the Lawnmower, as you can see. It's got a light on it. That'll sort you out down there. And this is the beard trimmer, which I actually do need. I'm not going to do it live on the air because I'll get bits on the floor. Definitely not down there. But you can get 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code TUS20. Absolutely fantastic products. The world leader in male grooming and trim the grass to make the yard look bigger. They've also got the weed whacker, which is for your nose and your ears. They've got the handyman, which you can just take around with you. That'll give you a clean shave as well, which I don't want to do actually. But I use it for tidying up and stuff like that. All fantastic products delivered to your door with the code TUS20 for free and 20% off. So free delivery and 20% off your order. Check it out with Manscaped. Yabba dooba doo. Check it out at Manscaped, 20% off and free worldwide shipping. Thank you very much to Manscaped. Ten Hag signed players we have. He can't manage them. Hash, I don't really... Can I just say to Hash and anybody else, there's probably other outlets you can talk about this, but I really don't want to talk about Ten Hag in or out. If he gets the sack at some point, we'll talk about the replacement. If he's staying as the manager, I want to talk about the solutions, because one thing remains, with this manager or without this manager, how do we change this? How do we change this cycle of the last decade? I don't believe a manager changes it. I don't think Ruud van Nistelrooy changes it. Might get a bit of a bounce. I think Benny McCarthy put it perfectly when he said this team can beat anybody. It's capable of winning trophies. When you look at last season, you would say Man City will win the league and Arsenal and Liverpool will probably win the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup. Man United won the FA Cup. The season before, Man United won the Carabao Cup. These players know how to win trophies. They just don't know how to do it consistently across a whole season. And that's true. And how do we find this? How do we do that? Do Newcastle have a better future than Man United, says Matto? Well, I don't know. I'm not here to talk about Newcastle, and I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the future of football is. If they can pump, they're the richest club in the world if they can get the money in. I don't know whether they can. I ran my algorithm and figured it out. United play on adrenaline, not discipline, says Parker. That's why we win cups and can't go long range for the league. Interesting point. Biggest problem is toxicity, says Rick. Kindness costs nothing. Spread a little love. And Stian says, little off topic, but have you heard of the Norwegian winger Nusa? Yes, 19-year-old and plays for Leipzig. He is as creative for our national team as Martin Odegaard. He's going to be a superstar. And I believe he was, I think he was playing for Genk. I think he was playing in Belgium before, because yeah, I know about him. Yeah, I do know about him. Whether he'll be on United's radar or not, I don't know. But funnily enough, Fabrizio was talking about this today. We're fully aware of it. Man United's policy is to keep trying to buy people like Obi Martin and Kone and Lasali, is it, from Crystal Palace? They want to keep buying these sorts of young players with the potential to be superstars, so keep your eye on that. In my opinion, our biggest issue is mentality and fitness, says Greg. Sweet Mark, don't want to offend, says Mo Salah. No, you don't. No, that's not offending me. That's generating a good conversation. You brought in a good conversation. I'm just saying, in relation to Bruno playing well for international football, I couldn't give a shit. I want him to play well for Manchester United, which is something he's struggled to do for the last 8 months. Anyway, Ten Hag's biggest issue is Ruud van Nistelrooy's biggest issue. It's Amorim's biggest issue. It's Tuchel's biggest issue. It's whoever Manchester United's next manager is issue, as much as it's Ten Hag's issue, as much as it was Ollie's issue, as much as it was Rangnick's and Jose's. The biggest issue at Manchester United is consistency. The biggest issue at Manchester United is displaying a vision that can be consistent. And when I look at Manchester United at the moment, and I look at that game against Brentford, Fenerbahce, West Ham away, I look at those next 3 games, and it's very, very difficult to put a best 11 out because we've got some key injuries again. But even if we had a completely fit squad for Brentford, the team I'm picking would be Anana, Delaware Mazraoui, obviously Luke Shaw, Martinez, De Ligt, Mainu Ugarte, Bruno, Rashford, Garnacho, Rasmus. Straight away, I can feel it in the chat. Well, it wouldn't be Ugarte and Mainu. What's the point in putting Luke Shaw there? He won't be fit. I wouldn't have Rashford and Garnacho. And this is the problem. We don't know what our best 11 is at the moment. Whereas for Liverpool, I don't know this is right for Liverpool, but I would say Liverpool's best 11 is Alisson, Trent, Robertson, Van Dijk and Konate, McAllister, Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, Diaz, Salah, Jota. I would say that's their best 11. There will be rotation, but I would say that's their best 11. And I can do it for Man City. and I can definitely do it for Arsenal. But at Manchester United, we hear the word rotation, but rotating what? What is your best 11? Because I don't think we know it, because it's so inconsistent. And this is something that when you go into that Brentford game next week, whether Ruud's interim or Ten Hag's in charge or a new manager's come in, what would that 11 be? It might be different for all three managers, but would you get a vision? Would you get that vision? Well, a new manager, it's very difficult because it's not their squad. Ruud van Nistelrooy has been part of it since the summer, but he would probably pick a different team to Ten Hag. I think next week against Brentford, Lindelof will be at right back, Delot will be at left back, Johnny Evans will start, Martinez will be benched, and De Ligt will start. The midfield, I think, will be Mainu and Eriksen with Bruno, and I think it will be Rashford, Rasmus, and Garnacho. That's not necessarily a team that's not going to beat Brentford, but it's not a team that's going to make me think, oh, we're not going to get beat again. And we've got to stop getting beat. And we've got to start showing a vision. And I think this is the biggest issue we have at the moment. I don't know what the vision is. When Lenny Yoro comes back, will he be playing at right back? Will he be playing at left back? Will you be benching Martinez? What the hell is going on with the midfield? The most important area of any team, the place where games are won and lost. What is our starting midfield three? Why did we spend £60 million on Agate? Surely the only way for him to get better is to pick him and let him play. Mainu looks burnt out. Eriksen we're going to get rid of in the summer. Casemiro we tried to get rid of last summer. Bruno is struggling. What's the front three? Is it reliable? So I just think that the biggest issue at the moment is, and I think one of the biggest frustrations in the squad and in the fan base is, and we're hearing these rumours, and look, I don't know about them. I don't know whether they're true or whether it's just lazy journalists. We've had a week of lazy journalism where they make stuff up, but we're hearing all this stuff that the players are confused by the rotation because they don't know whether they're in their best team and they should be picking their best team. But it's worrying that we're so inconsistent that the team is changing. And I always think when players are moaning or you get stories of players moaning, throw it back at them. Like I saw a story the other day where they were talking about Rashford being rotated and Garnacho being rotated. And basically the dressing room are just uncertain what's going on because one game somebody plays and then they're not in the team. But I would say, as much as I hate rotation, and surely you would agree with me on this, the reason we're having rotation is because people are inconsistent. So surely that's what you want in a manager. When somebody's not performing, you take them off or you rotate them out. If Mo Salah's not going to get rotated, is he? He's not. When it's an important game that you need to win, Mo Salah's not going to be sat on the bench. Neither's Alexi McAllister, neither's Andy Robertson, neither's Trent Alexander-Arnold. They might be rotated because they're in a good position in the league and they're feeling confident. I've seen Tsimikas playing at left back instead of Robertson in their very last game, actually. But where we are at the moment, every game we need to win. And yet we're still seeing rotation. We saw Maguire and Evans at centre-back against Villa. And whilst it worked, and you've got to give credit to the coaches for that, it did work and they know what's going on in training. To a fan, you've got no reason to feel guilty when that team comes out and you go, what the fuck are Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire playing at centre-back for when we've spent £100 million on De Ligt and Martinez? And it was the right thing to do, but in a way it's scary because it's like, our team is so sporadic. You don't know what's Christian Eriksen doing back in the starting lineup for the last few weeks? This is a player we would have all sold in the summer. Now, I understand he's playing well. I understand that in training he's probably doing better than everybody else. But why the fuck is this happening? And this is the inconsistency that people don't want to acknowledge. Ten Hag and Ruud van Nistelrooy and Rennie Heck are getting the piss taken out of them because they're picking Evans and Maguire and Eriksen. But they're obviously performing better in training than everybody else. And why is that happening? And then those players get moody because they're not starting. But you're not going to see this happen at Liverpool. Van Dijk and Konate and McAllister are not going to get dropped for whoever the three backups are unless they're not playing well. And that is an issue. And it's this inconsistency that has to be resolved, because if we don't resolve it, it doesn't matter who the manager is. We've been seeing it for 10 years. I don't know, as I stand here in front of you, I don't know what our best 11 is. I can give you what I think our best 11 is, but I'm not training them. I don't know what their attitude's like. I don't know whether they're good enough. And this is the issue. This is a big issue. We have to find this out. And can you put your hand on your heart at the moment and say who our starting left back is? No. You definitely can't. And that's a huge problem. But can you put your hand on your heart and say who our starting left winger is? You might know who you want it to be, but who is it? Is it Rashford or is it Garnacho? On the right wing, is it Ahmad or is it Garnacho? Up front, is it Rasmus or is it Xerxes? In the midfield, is it Mainu and Eriksson? Is it Mainu and Agate? Or is Casemiro in there? And these questions are very difficult to answer at the moment. And that is a huge issue. Of course it is. Get your questions in. Do you think we lack a good leader who can keep the players on track? Because the players have been causing a lot of drama lately, says Hash. 100%. We spoke about this last night. I mean, I don't want to repeat content, but we spoke about this last night. Bruno Fernandes is the best candidate to be captain at the moment, but he's not the best captain we could have. And we don't have enough leaders in that team. I think that if you had 3 leaders in that team, a lot of the head dropping wouldn't happen. But I've been saying this to you for years. I worry about Man United going 1-0 down because their heads will hit the floor and nobody can pick them up. There's no one strong enough to lift those heads when things start to go wrong. And we've seen it. We saw it in bloody... we saw it in Porto. You know, you're 2-0 up and you're playing well. A couple of things go wrong. You're 3-2 down. But it's not unusual. It's not unusual. Mark, Ten Hag needs to grow a set and bench players that are not trying in games and training or it will never get better, says Chris, which is what we sort of saw against Villa. Mark Davidson, thank you very much. And Abhijit says, the biggest issue is Ten Hag's preference for deep playing CDMs over destructive ones. He chose players like De Jong or Pogba if available, fitting Eriksson over Agate, even if Eriksson can play for 60 minutes. And Edsel says, the Glazers are still the problem, using Manchester United as a business and not a football club. Let's go United for life. Thank you very much, Edsel. And Angry Brit says, Angry Brit, I've not heard from you in ages. Hope you're doing well. I just want Ten Hag to not be afraid to make subs early when the original plan doesn't work. Thank you very much for that. And I want both at the moment, says Mustafa. We aren't playing well and we aren't getting good results. And at the end of the day, football is an entertainment sport. He wants results and entertainment. And Trezor says, these questions are the same ones we've been asking months ago. How much longer do we need to wait? I would substitute months for years, mate. I've been asking this question under Van Gaal, under Jose. I mean, you know, the scariest thing is about an international break is you wake up on a Saturday morning and you go, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I've been out in the back garden with a leaf blower, picking up leaves. I spent an hour doing it. It's been windy. I went in the back garden. There's a load more leaves. I've just wasted an hour. I just wasted an hour. It's scary what you do on an international break. But also, I've spent a bit of time sort of reading and doing some stuff. And I don't think it gets mentioned enough. With Ollie, was very late out, Ten Hag out. Ollie out. I've just said Ten Hag out. Shit! That's going to get clipped. I meant to say Ollie out. I was very late out, Ten Hag out. I was very late out, Ollie out. It's not a cry for help for that. I'm not trying to say something. I was very late out with Ollie out. I was very late out with Jose out. And obviously, I'm not Ten Hag out. But with Van Gaal... And how many years ago was Van Gaal? I mean, a lot of you might not have been watching this channel then. But it's funny, actually, because when people make a comment on the videos, you sometimes get alerts if it's an old video. And Man United against Stoke was when Rooney broke the goal record. And I didn't celebrate it. I was in a right bad mood because I just wanted Van Gaal out. And somebody put a comment on it yesterday, and it prompted me to start going back to old United stand video match reactions under Van Gaal. And I was like a lot of Ten Hag outers are now. I was right. But I was just get Van Gaal out. But the funny thing is, I'm listening to some of the videos because I've had the time today, and the similarities are incredible. And many of you would say, well, if the similarities are incredible, Van Gaal got sacked, so Ten Hag should get sacked. And it probably will happen, to be honest. But the scary thing is, we talk about Ollie and we talk about Jose, and this happened under them. Bloody hell. The last 4 months of Van Gaal, it's like no one talks about it. And actually, it's more similar, because it was a Dutch coach who ultimately won the FA Cup and still got the sack. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible because Van Gaal came with a lot of excitement around the Dutch way of playing football. And at times we had glimpses, but it never happened. And it's such a similar thing that's going on at the moment. You couldn't figure out what his best 11 was. But obviously we've seen it under Mourinho. Obviously we've seen it under Ollie as well. And we're seeing it again at the moment. And it really does concern me a lot, because I just think that regardless of the manager argument, which will rage and rage, of course it will, I don't see a scenario this season, no matter what manager you put in charge. And look, I'm not saying sack Ten Hag, but I'm still going to say this. I would say to Sir Jim Ratcliffe in Ineos, you're not going to find a solution this season that gets Man United into the top 4. Whether it's you may as well stay with, if you want to save money, you may as well stay with what you've got and change it in the summer, because you're not going to find a solution this season now. You're not going to find one. There are 6 teams in this Premier League that have a better vision than you, have a better structure than you, and are playing better than you, and have a better balance than you. And I don't know why you've neglected left back. I don't know who in your strategic review, best in class super duper club has told you that you don't need a left back, because that is criminal. That is absolutely criminal, and you can't pin that on the manager. Of course, Ten Hag has to take some percentage responsibility, but it amazes me how I hear it not on the TV, not on the radio, and not in the media, but I see it from you good people every bloody day, 3 times a day. Nobody is talking about the criminality, in a footballing sense, of what we've done at left back. It stuns me. It doesn't get mentioned. Now, what'll happen, I guarantee in the next few weeks, clip this, but we've been saying it for a long time anyway. We always talk about the big problems, and it takes about somewhere between 2 and 6 months for the mainstream to pick up on it. At some point, Carragher will be there in his white trainers, or Gary will be there in his headphones, and they'll start going, it's criminal that Manchester United haven't done anything at left back. It's coming. And yet you've been talking about it, and we've been talking about it for about a year. How you go into a new season without a left back is incredible. How you go into a new season thinking you've got a left back when they're Luke Shaw and Malacia is incredible. Malacia has not played for 18 months, and Luke Shaw is basically about as useful as a bloody chocolate fireguard. He's just no good at all. And I said that today. Somebody said it on social media. Oh, when he's fit, he's the best left back in Europe. And I said, not going to argue with that, but it's irrelevant. Not fit equals not playing equals waste of time. And that's what we are with that. And how many goals have we conceded down that side as well? For some reason, super duper best in class, we've got the best in class football board in the world, have gone left back doesn't matter. And we're suffering because of it. So I don't really care who the next manager is or whether Ten Hag stays. I look at Villa, they've got 2 left backs. I look at Liverpool, they've got 2 left backs. I look at Arsenal, they've got 3 left backs. I look at Man City, they've probably got 2 or 3 that can play in that position. Spurs, 2 left backs, as far as I remember. Man United haven't got a left back. So I think even on that very important position, I think we're going to struggle. I think we're going to struggle this season. And I don't see Man United getting top 4 regardless of what happens now. And yeah, I think at the end of the season, it's probably worth assessing Ten Hag's position if he finishes 5th or 6th. But I don't see top 4. Are we doing studio tours at the Manchester studios? Says Scott. Not that I'm aware of. I haven't been to the studio in ages, actually. I need a bloody studio tour. Would you take Tuchel if Ten Hag was to go, says Hayden? No, I don't want Tuchel. Look, I'm probably too old too long in the tooth to give a shit about following the masses, and I'm way too old in the tooth, too long in the tooth to care about being in the minority. I'm more than comfortable with. I mean, the only person I have to answer to is myself on a football opinion, and I would urge you all to do the same. I don't care what everybody else thinks, and I don't care what everybody else thinks about my opinion. I love doing this, and I love having a chat, but I'm not changing my opinion because it might get more of you to like me or agree with me. I don't care. We'll agree on some things and we'll disagree on others. I don't care whether I'm in the minority. I don't want Tuchel at Man United. Now, if we end up with him, fine, but I don't want him at Manchester United. Now, that's not me saying, if somebody said to me, look, Ten Hag's getting sacked no matter what, I still don't want Tuchel. I would rather we did something else. So no, nothing for me. It's not the guy. If we get him, I'm not going to say, let's see how it goes, because of course I'm going to do that. There's only one manager that will make me manager out from the second they give him the job, and that's Southgate. But that's to do with multiple years of not wanting him to be England manager. Good evening, Mark. It seems that we are playing to not lose instead of playing to win. Winning solves everything, and we must play to win every time we step on the pitch. Be aggressive and be relentless, says Hookham. Thank you very much, Scott. Finding a style of play is hard because you have previous managers playing, making it hard to integrate a style of play, says Ewan. Gideon says, my girlfriend cheated on me and your videos have helped. Thank you very much, Gideon. Thank you very much for your support. And yeah, I mean, she just sounds like a right shithouse, basically, Gideon. I mean, I don't know what you've been doing. Maybe, I mean, look, I'm not saying you forced her into it or anything like that. Just realised I'm digging a big hole. But at the end of the day, you're better off without her because she's a backstabber, and you know, you're better off without that. You're better off with us as a community because we might not agree with each other and we might get passionate, but we're loyal. I still wish we had kept Ranić as director. Glazers just didn't like him being vocal, says Angry Bit, 100%. I think the Ranić thing, I'm very happy about the amount of Man United fans that in time look back on that and really realise what a mistake we made. When we actually had Ranić, obviously I was very pro him and really liked him, and a lot of you were at the time, but there was a selection of fans and certainly the media that ridiculed him, who I think have looked at, you know, even some of the media journalists that ripped the piss out of him because they didn't know who he was. I see more and more of them, you know, changing their opinion as time goes by. Constantine, I will read your super chat. You're just very needy. Rotate, you're a bit of a beg, Constantine. You just need to just be patient a little bit. Rotation should be a wake-up calls for these entitled brats, but instead it becomes a toxic topic. It's like media infect them with toxic entitlements, says Mario Franco. Kia says, player mentality is much more important than style of play. They need to have the winning mentality that left the club long ago to compete for trophies, and that requires a cultural overhaul, says Kia. I completely agree. Hayden, thank you very much for your super chat. And Let's Talk Football says, you say Evans, etc. training better. Don't forget, Benny said they all train well, so doesn't understand why it doesn't translate in a game. Maybe they're reliable as well. Bradley Clout, hope you're doing well. He says, I don't think it's difficult to see who our best wingers are. It's Garnacho and Ahmed. They just need a run of games, but for some reason never do. But you know what, Bradley? I mean, I don't want the show to turn into this unless somebody wants it to turn into this, but there is an issue at Manchester United which, sod it, I'll just say it. For some reason, Man United is not allowed to be a football club. For some reason, Manchester United has turned into a football club that competes with some of its players, and therefore it's not acceptable for them to be dropped based on wage, status, brand, or whatever. I think that it's hard for the media to accept that Manchester United could drop Marcus Rashford or Bruno Fernandes or Harry Maguire or, you know, Casemiro. It becomes a big thing because these players are on big wages and they're, you know, they're well known. And the reason I bring Maguire and Casemiro into it, because it's exactly the same. We've seen Casemiro get dropped from the FA Cup final and it becomes a big deal. We've seen Harry Maguire get dropped for De Ligt and it's a big deal, or Varane. Obviously, we see it with Bruno and Rashford all the time. And I think this is something that only we can't solve this. We argue about this because people have different ideas, but only look, there is a lot of things that the manager is responsible for. There's a lot of things that the players are responsible for. There's definitely a lot of things that the fans are responsible for and the media are responsible for. But what Manchester United is and how it behaves is the responsibility of the people that run the football club. And at the moment, as I've said before, sometimes if you criticise a player, you know the reaction to that is going to be toxic. And the reason for that is because some players, and some of them aren't here anymore, Pogba, Ronaldo, there are others as well, almost supersede what Man United is. If you drop that player, that's a bigger story than what Man United did on the pitch. We saw it with Ronaldo when Ronaldo walked down the tunnel. I mean, I'm a massive fan of Ronaldo. I'm not saying that the players I'm saying it about are toxic. What I'm saying is that Man United has put itself in a position where certain players, if they get dropped, rotated or subbed off, that story will supersede what Man United did on the pitch. The Crystal Palace game where we drew 0-0, I thought we played quite well. What was the big story? Marcus Rashford didn't start the game. That's what everyone was talking about. And that's Man United's biggest problem, because they fed that beast. They fed that beast for years. Oh, winning team photos. Oh, get your tracksuit on, lads. Oh, let's promote you on brand to get you more followers, get the club more followers. They've created this, commercial monster where players have been on an even keel with the club. And now we're left with this situation where it's very difficult for any manager to drop a player if they're in that club of, you're on massive money, you're going to be big news. If Bruno Fernandes got dropped for 3 games, do you think we'd be allowed to get on with it? Do you think Talk Sport or Sky or the Manchester Evening News or the Guardian or even some of our fans would let that go? They're not going to let it go, because that's what Man United's become, a circus, a PR circus where the benefits and the focus on what's best for Manchester United football team are secondary to what a big story it would be if Bruno gets dropped. And actually, if Pep Guardiola drops Kevin De Bruyne, it'll be a bit of a story, but Pep will shut it down and go, I'm the manager, I'll pick the team, you've got no involvement in it, and De Bruyne will stay quiet because he wants to win his place back. Man United, you dropped Bruno for 3 games. Why have you dropped Bruno, Eric? What's going on with Bruno? Have you fallen out with Bruno? Write a story. Bruno's fell out with this. The players are on Bruno's side. And that doesn't matter about Ten Hag. Doesn't matter if it's Jose. Doesn't matter if it's Ollie. Doesn't matter if it's Tuchel. That is a problem for any manager at Man United. And the only people who can fix that are Sir David Brailsford, Blanc, Ashworth, Barada and Sir Jim. They've got to solve that problem, because any manager will have it. Thomas Tuchel comes in, or Amorim comes in, or Nagelsmann comes in, or Zidane comes in, they will still deal with that problem of walking through the door, my way, you're dropped, you're dropped, you're dropped. Oh my God, Bruno's fuming with the new manager, and Rashford's not happy he's been dropped, and, neither's Casemiro. So we have to solve that. We have to solve that problem. And people are scared to say that because they want to blame the manager. They want to blame the players. They want to even blame the fans. But the people who set the tone of the football club are the people who own the fucking football club. They have to set the tone. They have to do it. They've got to change the culture of the football club. They've got to change the identity of the football club. And the scary thing is, there is 3 or 4 clubs in the Premier League at the moment, and there's 3 or 4 clubs in Europe at the moment where you can literally lift the blueprint of how to run it from a footballing sense, where you make the club bigger than the player. And United need to do that. I mean, look at PSG. Did Mbappe mug PSG off to an extent that PSG looked stupid? Or was it sort of like, we're not going to pick you sometimes, we know you're going to Real Madrid? I don't think PSG came out badly from the Mbappe situation, even though he walked out the door for nothing to go to Real Madrid. I don't. But at Man United, I think we would lose that. I think we would come out of it looking stupid. Ten Hag, I've done that one from Chris. Loving the show tonight, by the way. Some fantastic conversations coming up. The biggest issue is Ten Hag's done that one from Abhijit. Edsel, thanks for being a member for 4 months. I'm trying to cite Constantine. You say you do super chats, and you haven't even. Oh, you have. Mark, we will get there under this manager and prove the media and Eric Ten Hag out as wrong. I see us beating Brentford and getting back on track, says Constantine. Somebody messaged me today about being Ten Hag in, and I said, if Ten Hag survives this, the minority will be on the right side of history. But to do it, he needs a miracle. Quote, Mark Goldbridge, 2024. But seriously, if you've remained... I wouldn't say Ten Hag in. I think that's too strong a word. If you've not gone Ten Hag out, I think it's a bit of a reach to say if you've remained Ten Hag in, because I think there has to be an element of understanding why people are saying Ten Hag out. I get that. I understand why people are saying it, but I'm not Ten Hag out. And whether we're in the minority or not, look, if you're asking me what I think is going to happen, look at the last 10 years. No one's ever... I'll ask this myself. right? No one's ever asked me this, so I'll ask it myself. Mark, do you think Ten Hag's going to survive? Because you don't have to be Ten Hag out to say that. Do you think he's going to survive? Well, thanks for the question. I'll call you Jeff because I like the name. No, I don't think he's going to survive. Oh, that's interesting, Mark, because a Ten Hag outer, I wondered why you weren't Ten Hag out, but now I'm quite happy because I am Ten Hag out and you think he's going to get the sack. Thanks, Jeff. I've had enough of you. But I don't think he's going to survive because the last 10 years show me that he won't. Look at Ollie. Look at Mourinho. Look at Van Gaal. There is no manager that's survived. So why do I think this is any different? And also, I don't know anything about Ineos. So I still think that, going back to what I said 5 minutes ago, a lot of Man United's problems can be solved from the top, but they need to make some big decisions instead of pinning it on the manager and transfer funds. We need an identity change, and I don't know whether we're going to get that. So based on what I know, I would say Ten Hag is going to get the sack at some point. Yeah, I would say that. But obviously, I am not Ten Hag out, and maybe some of you aren't as well. But if he turns this around, then yeah, technically I'll be on the right side of history where I can say, well, I never was Ten Hag out. But it's going to take a bloody miracle, isn't it? It is. I can't see us not losing again before the next international break. And will one more loss cause it? Well, it depends what the game is. I look at the next few games and what have we got? Brentford at home, Fenerbahce away, West Ham away, Chelsea at home, Leicester at home in the Cup, Leicester at home in the league, and I presume we've got another Europa League game. I mean, none of those games are really games you can lose and go, it's okay. It's not like you got Liverpool at Anfield. Chelsea at Old Trafford losing is as bad as losing to Spurs. West Ham away is not a great game to lose. Brentford or Leicester at home is a bloody terrible game to lose. I can't see us not losing another game before the next international break. And I think losing any of those games before the next international break is not a good look. So, as I said, there's no Arsenal at the Etihad. Well, there is no Arsenal at the Etihad, at the Emirates. Yeah, so it's Brentford, Fenerbahce, West Ham, Leicester in the Carabao Cup. We've got Paik at home. I mean, realistically, he needs to not get beat in all of those games to just be okay in the next international break. Yeah. And then you've got Ipswich away, Bodo Glimt. I mean, you know. Last game at Upton Park, Louis van Gaal lost 4th place in his job. There is something about West Ham, SG, that is very pivotal to people losing their job. You're quite right about Van Gaal. He lost, that was when the buses got pelted, wasn't it? And Jesse Lingard was acting like a prat on his phone. I went Mourinho out when he lost at West Ham. I'm pretty sure Ollie lost the game at West Ham in his final few weeks as well. So West Ham has a... I don't know about Ollie, actually, but definitely Mourinho, definitely Van Gaal. So, yeah, maybe that... And you know, that West Ham game is the sort of game where you can see a shit defensive mistake, a stupid VAR decision, and you lose. What about Southgate's dynamic and attacking style of play? Do you feel won't work? Mate, I'm not even going to answer it, Xander. Thanks for trying to be a troll. Hook and Buddy, thank you very much. We've done for that. Please bridge Ten Hag out. Why Ten Hag in now? We all know what it's coming to anyway, which is Ten Hag sacked, says Lewis. Okay, don't really get what you're saying, but thank you, Lewis. Our biggest issue is that some of us expect much more from these average players. We just ain't good enough, unfortunately, says Martin. And saw so many kids with Man City shirts. It's actually scary, says Just Kevin. The new generation are all Man City supporters. Well, they're all bloody idiots then, aren't they? One of Seb's friends came round in a Man City shirt, and I basically sat him down for 5 minutes with Seb and was like, why do you support Man City? Do your parents support Man City? No. What? And basically just came down to the fact that he likes Erling Haaland. And I said, that's no way to pick your football club. It's none at all. And then they just went off and played Lego. But it's just glory supporting. And when I was a kid, people did it with Liverpool. And you know, they'd be wearing them candy shirts, you know, the tight-fitting Jan Malby ones. And I was just, you know, they don't support Liverpool now. But what you're going to do is just glory fans. And no, I didn't support Manchester United because of glory, because I'm old. And when I was 6, 7 years of age, it was the 80s and we weren't fucking winning anything, really. I barely remember 85. So I sort of started watching football or remembering football from 86. Man United didn't win anything until 1990. So I had my Panini stickers and my formulative football years when Man United won fuck all. And we weren't in Europe either. So certainly wasn't glory. And that's why I hate Liverpool so much. Well, I don't hate Liverpool. I did then. I definitely lived my life with hate towards Liverpool up until I was about 25. And then I just got rid of hate because hate's not a good trait. But yeah, I definitely hated them when I was younger. 95% of City fans will stop supporting City if they stop winning, says Tris Fitz. I mean, what I would say is we don't know what's going to happen with Man City, and it's not the Man City stand. But there's part of me that if somebody said to me, if I got a WhatsApp now from somebody in the know saying Man City are going to get found out and they're going to get relegated to the National League, I would laugh at every time I saw somebody walking around in a Man City shirt, because I'd be like, you're not going to support them when you're playing Solihull Moors. You just won't. Martinez, De Ligt and Yoro are the only centre-backs that suit the way we want to play. If we sold or got rid of the rest, who would you bring in? Says Ross McRae, Magician. I want to see Man United buying another centre-back next summer. I think Maguire and Evans and Lindelof will all be gone next summer. I think we need to bring another centre-back in. But I just think at the moment, one of the things I struggle with, and hence talking about what's the biggest issue with this team, because I think the title of the show is Ten Hag's biggest issue. And I think on the thumbnail it says, what is it? Or something like that. Because actually it's not really Ten Hag's biggest issue. We should have probably called the video United's biggest issue, because the biggest issue for me is, how do we solve this problem of a decade? Is there anybody in this chat or not watching this video, watching it later live, that can put a comment in and say, this is the pathway to success? Sort it out is the thumbnail, says Kyle. Thank you very much. Because how do we sort it out? I mean, I think for many years we've all had a solution. And there are a lot of people out there saying, sack Ten Hag. But I just find that fine. You've solved one thing. That's not changing it. I find it laughable, absolutely laughable, that people think if we sack Ten Hag, everything's going to be all right. You know, it's not. I don't see it changing at all. I think you're just on the cycle again. And what worries me at the moment is that I genuinely believe the squad is capable of being good. When the flick switches like it did against Man City, it can beat Man City. But it can also lose to Brighton. And I think the problem with the players at the moment is, and I've got to be honest with you, it really annoys me when I see interviews from people like Luke Shaw in the past, or Harry Maguire in the past, or Bruno Fernandes in this international break, or Paul Pogba years ago, talking about how great it is for Portugal or France or England, because I don't care about Portugal, England or France. In a footballing sense, I probably care more about Charlton Athletic. I do not care about international football. You know what international football is to me? It's basically a filler for June, which is boring without football, every 2 years. World Cup, Euros. That's it. I don't like your international break. Can I just shock you? I think it's a big fucking waste of time. I hate the international break, and I have done for years. And I don't even pretend to like it anymore. I didn't even watch England play Greece on Thursday. I went to the pub and got pissed. I don't like the international break. So when I see Man United players, who I really care about, talking about how great it is to be with Portugal or England or France, I'm like, shut up. I don't care. It's irrelevant to me. So them going to their national team and talking about how great it is and how they feel part of something, you're paid by Man United. And this fan base and this football club actually has an identity. And if you don't get it, then please, for the love of God, why are you signing long-term contracts? Why are you taking the money? Are you a mercenary, or do you actually understand what this football club's all about? Because it doesn't work to go and play for your national team and go, oh, it's great here. Oh, the pressure's less. I'm having a great time. Your job is Man United. And our job as fans is Man United every bloody day. Whether we're losing, whether we're winning, you get up, what's going on at Man United? And these players do not seem to live, breathe and eat it. And I think that's one of the biggest problems, because Ryan Giggs would pull out the Welsh squad, Roy Keane would pull out the Irish squad, Gary Neville would pull out the England squad, because Manchester United was the bread and butter. That was the obsession. And I think at Manchester United at the moment, there's a lot of players that don't live, breathe and eat Manchester United. And until we find that, we will struggle. We will struggle, because when you look at Manchester United's success, whether it be the 60s, the 50s with the Busby Babes, or the Sir Alex Ferguson era, those players were more than just players. They weren't just being paid a wage. They got it. They get it. I remember battling against Wenger's Arsenal, technically a better football team than us. Look at Pep's Man City, technically one of the best teams we've ever seen. But Man United have always been, when we've been successful, we've been a good football team, but we've also been a team that would die for the shirt. That would, run through brick walls for the shirt. And when we don't have that, we struggle. It's always been in our identity. We will run through brick walls for that shirt, and we lack that. We lack that at the moment. I think United will pick up points in the next few games, says Rub. We better bloody do. The answer is simple, but not achievable. Glazers set the culture, and they're not going anywhere. We are just a brand, says John. Are you still sleeping on the couch, says Mr. Empire. No, I'm fine. Fine. I just said it. I got away with it because I was ill. Arsene Wenger was a great manager and helped turn Arsenal into a side that could play quality football. I miss those days. They were amazing, says V. We need to bring in academy players, says Brutos. Well, look, long-term, young players might be the solution. But if they're learning how to play for Man United... Well, I actually just... You know what? I actually flat disagree with that. I think long-term, bringing through young players is great. But you've got to have a massive, massive ego and confidence to break into that young team and tell the big players what to do. If I'm the next Paul Scholes and I'm 18 and I go and play for that Man United side, I've got Cantona, I've got Keane, I've got Schmeichel, I've got Bruce, I've got Irwin to learn from. I'm set. I'm a good, talented player, and I've got great characters with brilliantly high standards to learn from. If I'm that Paul Scholes at 18 coming... And I'd love Paul Scholes to answer this, actually. I don't know whether he has, but I'd love him to answer it, because I can see what Paul Scholes did because I lived it. And he came into a team that had so many leaders in it and told him, taught him how to be a Man United player. Obviously, he had the talent. If he came into Man United now, would he be the same player? I definitely don't think he would be. I really don't think he would be, because... At 18 years of age, Paul Scholes can't walk into that team and say, this is how we're going to do it, to Bruno and co. They're going to be his standard bearers. They're going to be the ones that he learns from. So if you're a young player coming through, how long before you become infected by the inconsistency that's above you from all the senior players? And that is such a major open goal problem to solve for Ineos. We are looking to buy lots of young players. Great. But when they hit the first team, where's your Roy Keane? Where's your Eric Cantona? Where's your Dennis Irwin? Where's your Peter Schmeichel to turn them into great players? Because it's not just about talent, it's about mentality. And it's very, very rare that you get a 16, 17, 18-year-old that hits the first team and tells all the senior players, you lot are shit, I'm the leader now. It doesn't happen. It really doesn't. So somehow, we've got to find consistent senior players that can nurture these younger players that we've got coming through. How do you do that? Because where are they? How do you find them? That's what we've got to do. Back then you got paid for being good. Now it's Instagram followers, says Parker. Thank you very much. AL7 says, we are lacking leaders. Bruno isn't one. Armband to Onana, says Baldwin. And the players don't care about you ranting about that. They prioritise their nation over a terribly run football club, says Mohammed. Well, they can fuck off then. I don't care whether they care about what I say about their national team. But I think most Man United fans are on my side. Liverpool fans are the same. I don't care about England. It's something to do in the summer. I don't give a shit about England in the international break. I don't care about the Nations League. I don't care about the qualifiers. I don't care about who's getting picked. I'm not bothered. It's club over country for me. Easily. I'd take club football every day. I'll take a Champions League or a Premier League over a World Cup any day. Now, some of you might disagree with me. That's not because I'm not patriotic. I just don't care about international football. I think it's shit. I think it's slow, predictable, boring. I like the World Cup. I like the Euros because it's in the summer and it's something to do. But I don't care about international football. So I'm not interested in listening to Manchester United players kiss their arse of, their national team squad and how great it is to link up with everybody because it's a piece of piss. That's why they like it. Probably playing the Faroe Islands or something like that. It's not hard. The reason they struggle at Man United is because it's fucking hard. It's like going to work on a Friday and it's dress down day and it's down the pub for a drink at 1 o'clock. You finish early. And and guess what? In the morning, we're having a quiz. And on the night, you can stay in a hotel. Whereas on Monday morning, you've got to do some work. That's why they like international football. And anyway, I don't really care. Manchester United's more of a priority to me than international football. And obviously, I think sometimes it comes across that some of our... I don't think it even comes across. I think it's very obvious that some of our players that we pay ridiculous money to prefer playing for the national team. Never when I was growing up. Maybe it's an age thing, but when I was growing up, international football was a bonus. You didn't prioritise your national team over your club. I think it's I don't even think it. We've even heard players say it in the last 12 months that they love playing for their national team, that it's an escape. So fuck them. That's part of the problem, isn't it? Even post Sir Alex, we've never missed out on Champions League 2 years in a row yet. Hoping we get back next season or else Ten Hag must go, says SG9673. Florian says we should get Keane in the coaching team to knock some sense and mentality into the players. It's embarrassing to watch them. You know what? Can I just say, I've never been a fan of this. I even said it last week. But I think the great thing about the international break is that, we've got, 7,000 people watching. It's a Saturday night. People are busy. When the transfers window's open, we could have 25,000 people watching. When it's a match reaction, we can have 60,000 people watching. And that's great. But I love these types of shows in the international break because it's a bit of we go deeper. We have more to talk about. And I think this whole Roy Keane in the dressing room thing is laughable because it's so simplistic. It's such a cliche. Let's get Roy Keane in the dressing room. Let's get somebody in the dressing room to give him a kick up the arse. But sometimes the most simplistic thing actually can solve the most complex problems. And the last couple of nights, we've been talking about how we lack leaders. And we've literally just said we've got a lot of young players that can be really good for Man United. That can be the future. The Kobe Mainus, the Garnachos, the 3 lads that we've brought in the summer, some of the players that are already in the youth squad. Obviously, I would still say people like Agate and Xerxes are young players. I'd still say that. Rasmus, they're still young players. Ahmad, they're still young players. We need players a bit older than that for them to learn from with the right leadership. Well, we haven't got that. So if we can't buy that, because to buy that's going to cost a lot of money, maybe you do chuck a Roy Keane into the dressing room who is just literally going to be in that dressing room to fucking bollock the shit out of them and give them some leadership. Because not every manager is going to be like that. It doesn't mean you need Roy Keane as a bloody manager, but you might need him as a coach. Is Ruud van Nistelrooy like that? Is Rennie Heck like that? I think we do need a bit of aggression and accountability in that dressing room. And somebody's got to deliver it because a kick up the arse is clearly required to some of those players to find some consistency because we've tried everything else. We've tried the tactical genius. We've tried the arm round the shoulder with Ollie. Mourinho tried to give them a kick up the arse and the club backstabbed him with the players. So the thing is, I think Mourinho was probably the closest we had to it. And what happened there is the players were empowered by the board to jettison Mourinho. If the board is now there to support the manager, then how's about we try what we had with Mourinho again, where actually it's a little bit stricter, but the board backed them. I think, you know, I'm not saying it should be Roy Keane, but I'm starting to really think, how do we get that in there? Yeah. Chris says the fact that Rasmus can't play 90 minutes needs to be talked about more. I don't know. I mean, maybe you can let me know in the chat, but I don't think Rasmus played any minutes today, did he? I was under the impression that he was going to be rested today of his own recommendation. I'm just looking at the team now. Yeah, Eriksson started. Rasmus is on the bench. No, I wouldn't be too worried about that, mate. I think it's a good thing for Man United. I think he's managing his minutes. He said it himself a couple of days ago that he's doing it from a point of view of prioritising himself. So, yeah, I think that's what's happening there. Constantine, I did read your super chat, mate. Thank you very much. Sorry, I've had a freeze on the live chat here. Mark, you never read my super chats. I read it, Constantine. On that international football topic, who is this England manager? Was he forced out of retirement or something, says Rub. Even post Sir Alex, we've never missed that. I've done that one from SG. Done that one as well from Florian. And the answer is simple, but not achievable. Glazers, says John. Thank you very much. And Rasmus Højlund would benefit from a season-long loan to a championship club, says Tyrant. Mate, I don't get... You know what? Don't get me started. I do not understand this. I don't understand the Xerxes stuff, and I definitely don't understand the Rasmus stuff. Like, he finished last season really well. He did score a few goals for us last season in a chaotic season. He's only just getting back from being injured at the start of the season. He had no service last year, and for some reason... People have just got it in for him, and I don't get it. I get it with Rashford, I get it with Bruno, and I get it with Casemiro because they've been here for a very long time. And as much as I want them all to be successful, I understand why they can be quite divisive. But I don't get it with Rasmus. I really don't. I haven't seen this issue with him at all. And I think that. Look, what I would say with people like Rasmus and Xerxes, I'd say it about Mount if he could get fit, is that the next month is very important for them to start delivering, certainly. But yeah, I think people are too eager to write people off. It really winds me up. I mean, I don't care about the manager. I think the manager's open season, isn't it? I can't defend that. Everyone needs to make their opinions up about it. But I do think that, look, I said it this morning, I'll say it again. We're Manchester United, and I don't think some of us actually take pride or understand what being a Manchester United fan is. It's really embarrassing when you have to point at our biggest rival and say they treat their players a lot better than we do. Liverpool treat their players a lot better than we do. Look at how patient they were with Fabinho. Look at how patient they've been with Gravenberch, and they have reaped the benefits of it. Look at how patient they still are with Darwin Núñez. And they just seem to back their players for longer than we do. A lot of United fans do back the players, but some of them are just ridiculous. I've seen people calling Agate names, Xerxes names. They've only just signed. I don't get it. I don't get it. I really don't. Can you give a quick, honest opinion on every player, says Jonah? Mate, it's 9:10. I'll do it tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Remind me. Thanks, everybody, for watching. And I will catch you in the morning for the morning show. Don't know what time I'm going to be, actually, because I think it depends what time Seb's kicking off. But might be a slightly earlier morning show tomorrow. Keep an eye out for that. Could be 9 o'clock. But thanks everyone for watching. Absolute legends. I'm off to watch a film. Take care. Speak to you all in a bit. Legends tonight. Really enjoyed it. Always like the international shows because it's the hardcore. Oh, we had a poll running up. Sorry, very, very quickly. We had a poll running tonight. Ten Hag in, 58%. Ten Hag out, 42%. So it's still hovering around 60%. Interesting. Don't forget Manscaped. 20% off with the code TUS20. And you get free delivery as well. Have a fantastic day, evening, whatever you're doing. And I'll speak to you all later. Take care.